Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group.
A man who's gone through hell, but he's kept going, and he's smart, and he's strong, and people love him. Not everybody, but people love him and respect him. Roger Stone.
Now, here's Roger Stone.
And we're back. We're going to focus for a moment on the Sunshine State of Florida. Roughly 2 weeks ago, Casey DeSantis, the First Lady of Florida, began to mention the fact that she was considering a race for governor in 2026 when her husband, Ron DeSantis, is by constitutional requirement not allowed to run again. The governor quickly came out and said that he was supportive of the idea. And then when Governor DeSantis and his wife, Casey, whose real name is Jill, were flying to Washington, D.C. to meet President Trump, while they were in the air, President Trump took to True Social to issue a warm and strong endorsement of Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman Donalds is, of course, one of the strongest MAGA congressmen, has really become a national figure. But Governor DeSantis then attacked Donalds, saying that he had missed a lot of votes in Congress because he was out campaigning for Donald Trump in the last election, which is ironic because Governor DeSantis missed a record number of congressional votes while he was running for governor. Anyway, yesterday there was a report that President Trump, Governor DeSantis, and his wife Casey were spotted at Trump's West Palm Beach Golf Club having breakfast with the president. My sources tell me the DeSantises were trying to persuade the president to back off his endorsement of Byron Donalds and at least become neutral in the race. There are two chances of that, fat and slim. Anyone who knows Donald Trump knows he never backs down. This is going to be an interesting race because, well, I think Casey DeSantis will lead in early polls based solely on name ID. She is, of course, the wife of a relatively popular governor. But Byron Donalds is all upside potential. And I remind you that with the endorsement of Donald Trump, DeSantis himself went from 8 to 63 in the polls virtually overnight. When Donald Trump begins stumping the Sunshine State for Byron Donalds, I don't think this will be a contest. Switching now to Florida, I want to talk to you about a race that has really gotten my attention. It's not a race that's coming up. It's a race that has already taken place. This is in the 14th district of Florida, where Captain Rocky Rochford, a distinguished veteran, was the Republican nominee against Congresswoman Kathy Castor. Captain Rochford has a distinguished career in the military, and I could actually take the rest of the entire segment to talk about his service to the country. But I think he learned that politics is somewhat different than military service. And the problem with this election, quite simply, is that Rocky Rochford, who's going to join us momentarily, endured substantial irregularities, statutory violations, election fraud, and misconduct that materially affected the outcome of that election. Very specifically, Rochford and his team and his lawyers determined that there were 37,495 vote-by-mail ballots that were in violation of Florida state law. That's because 29,544 of these were fraudulent ballots that had been voted in the 14th Congressional District. How do we know this? Because the records, when analyzed, showed that they did not have the required date of birth or Social Security number, which would classify them as legal ballots. He is taking his fight to the U.S. House of Representatives because that is where the final arbitration of who and who is not a member of Congress is determined. Not in the states, but the House can determine who has been legitimately elected and seat them. It also has the power to unseat a member who the House believes has been fraudulently or incorrectly certified by the state. Captain Rocky Rochford joins us now on The Roger Stone Show.
Hi, Roger. Thank you very much for having me.
So this has been a great experience for you. Politics is different than service to one's country in the military. I'm proud of the fact that you want to serve the country. The more I read about this case, the more angry I got. When you consider that Republicans only control the House by a margin of 218 to 215, well, every single seat is precious. I still think that Speaker Johnson should have challenged those two districts in Orange County, California, where more people voted than are registered to vote. And we may have a special election coming up in the 28th District of Texas, where the Democrat member of Congress and his wife have been charged Menendez style with 14 criminal violations. By the way, that's LBJ's old House seat. Actually could be winnable by a Republican. We only lost it by 4 points in the last election. But tell us about your experience in Florida's 14th District.
Well, thank you. Again, sir, thank you so much for having me on your show. It's a real honor to be here and to share with your audience what happened. I'll go as quickly as I can. Florida was about 11 million votes in the 2024 election, and in District 14, it was about 350,000 votes. In order to request a vote-by-mail ballot, which is where the preponderance of the evidence says that this is where the fraud occurred, in Florida, you have to provide either, as you had mentioned, your last four of your social or your Florida driver's license number. And there's a report that's maintained by the state up in Tallahassee called the vote-by-mail report. And every supervisor of election in every county in Florida has to make reports up on Mondays and then they maintain that database. It's really just a text file. And so after the election, we downloaded the text file, and somebody on my team decided he's a U.S. DOD auditor, certified auditor, and he found where there was actually 592,335 ballots in the state of Florida throughout the election that were illegally requested by not providing any identification. Now, the problem with that is that 475,000 of them were returned illegally. They were processed and counted. So that's where the anger comes in. So there's two anomalous things that occurred in September, which is what points to the fact that this was not just some clerical error. Because I've heard people say, well, it was just a mistake or something. I'm like, well, I can understand if it's a few hundred, but when you talk about 600,000. But anyway, on September the 9th, in Pinellas County only, and of course, District 14 covers both Pinellas County and Hillsborough County. And on September 9th, in Pinellas County only, there was 195,286 requests for absentee ballots or vote-by-mail ballots. And none of them provided the proper identification, but all those ballots were issued. And they were returned. About 160,000 of them were returned, processed, and counted. Now, fast forward 4 days. Now, in Miami-Dade County, there were 242,000 requests for vote-by-mail ballots without providing the proper identification. This is just one day. September 9th in Pinellas, September 13th in Miami-Dade County. And of those, 198,000 were returned, processed, and counted. So the problem is that if this was some sort of an anomaly that was a clerical error, first off, why so many ballots requests on one day? There's actually 2 days, the September 9th and the 13th. And why were they only those 2 days? It doesn't make any sense. So clearly something is afoot. And we're hoping that with our cases which the House has agreed to, it's called the House Administrative Committee. They're the ones who will review the case and make the determination of whether fraud existed, and then they will pass their findings up to and recommendation to the Speaker of the House. And so they now have it. The biggest hurdle for me to date was, will they agree to review the case? And they have agreed to review the case. So that's very exciting for me. And really, when I say, Roger, that this is, I'm talking about from my perspective that of course I wanted to win. I ran an honest race. We ran a very hard race. But I look at all of the people who are disenfranchised, and not just in Florida, but across the country by all this fraudulent, and we're not even talking about the machines and blank ballots. And there's so many. It's insidious that this exists at this level.
It really is quite extraordinary because, assuming everything you say is true, which I believe it to be, I know your attorney, Peter Tickton's a very good man, meticulous and very, I think, responsible attorney. But that would mean that your congressional seat is not the only seat that was probably wrongly called in Florida. It's amazing that Governor DeSantis continues to insist that Florida has, his words, the gold standard of elections. But he even at one point put together an election police task force, went out and he charged a bunch of people who had been convicted felons and gone on to vote. In every one of those cases, these were individuals who just made an honest mistake. They read that in Florida, that a convicted felon can get their Voting Rights Act. They thought it was automatic. They didn't realize you had to apply for it. We're talking about a handful of votes. It made great headlines. It was a great press release, but it was not a reality. So it was mostly for show. Meanwhile, you have this endemic system of mail-in ballots coming back, in some cases being voted in Lake County, by someone inside the Board of Elections. You have the state association of election officials have a trade association that our tax dollars pay for, but is not actually a governmental body. And it's an endemic problem. Florida is a crucial state in any presidential campaign, but it's not clear to me that we are having honest elections, and your case, I think, is going to be the test case. This could, I think, open the door to a closer examination of a number of elections. Anyway, we're going to talk about your plans moving forward and how you think this plays out. But first, we're going to go to one of our sponsors for a very important message. You're listening to The Roger Stone Show here on the Red Apple Audio Networks. Please don't go away.
Now, it's time for Protecting Your Future, sponsored by Colonial Metals Group. Here's Roger Stone.
In these turbulent economic times, with the Federal Reserve just printing money like it's going out of style, with Elon Musk and his Doge uncovering not millions, not billions, but trillions of dollars of waste and fraud, with a national debt in the trillions and unsustainable, there has never been a better time for you to protect your future, protect your retirement, protect your nest egg, protect your IRA or 401k by acquiring precious metals like gold and silver. The people that I trust to do this are Paul Stone and the team at Colonial Metals Group. You can contact them by going to colonialmetalsgroup.com/stone. That's colonialmetalsgroup.com/stone, or go to freegoldguide.com and they'll answer all your questions. You'll be glad you did.
This is the Roger Stone Show.
Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant. 9.5 plus pH, now in cans.
Refreshing.
Made for every way you move.
Should I run a marathon?
Let's start with finishing that water. Smart Water Alkaline with antioxidant, now in a sleek can. For those with a taste for taste. Grab yours today.
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit temptationstreats.com to learn more.
How does PwC take your company to the leading edge? They bring the sharpest minds in tech to your team, so you can bring the ideas that will transform your business. They're passionate about your industry, so you can walk into any room with every advantage. And they're with you every step of the way, so you can know you're headed in the right direction. PwC builds for what's next, so you can get there now. Get started at pwc.com/us/leading edge.
This episode is brought to you by Loom by Atlassian. Are you feeling stuck at work? Get your team unstuck with Loom video messaging and move work forward. Use Loom to simultaneously record both your screen and yourself to share a quick update, provide feedback, train a colleague, and everything in between. Plus, add Loom AI to your meetings for instant written notes and recordings. Try Loom today at Loom.com. That's LOOM.com.
Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, and Donald Trump.
They went after a guy named Roger Stone, who's sitting in the office. And I'll say this in front of Roger, he's no baby. And right now, he's cleaner than anybody in this place. No, they treated him very unfairly.
All of these presidents relied on one man to secure their seat in the Oval Office. That man is Roger Stone.
Roger Stone.
This is the Roger Stone Show, presented by Colonial Metals Group. Now, here's Roger Stone.
And we're back here on the Roger Stone Show. We talk politics. I eat, sleep, and breathe politics. I think if I cut myself, I'd probably bleed politics. But I'm very interested in this crucial question about the 14th District of Florida. We're talking to Captain Rocky Rochford, retired during Operation Enduring Freedom. Captain Rochford served as a team chief in the CENTCOM Joint Operations Center and then forward deployed to Camp Al-Saliyah in Qatar to continue serving in the Joint Operations Center as team captain during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He is the recipient of many awards from the government, including the Legion of Merit, 4 awards, the Defense Meritorious Service Medal, the Meritorious Service Medal, another 2 awards, the Joint Service Commendation Medal, the Joint Services Achievement Medal, and the Naval Achievement Medal, and numerous other campaign medals. So when I say that Captain Rochford is no slouch, he was an excellent candidate for Congress, but what I admire here is that you refuse to just go away. Appears to me, just based on the raw statistics and the excellent filing, which I read, that you made to the House Administration Committee, you have an excellent case that the election was wrongly called for your opponent, Kathy Castor, and that you should be seated right now in the Congress. Now, this comes at a time when Republican margins in the House are slim, even though we technically have a lead of 218 to 215, 2 House seats in Florida are vacant. Those of Matt Gaetz, who resigned, and those of Mike Waltz, who resigned to become President Trump's national security advisor. By the way, one of the very best appointments in the Dream Team, in the Justice League that now is working to implement Donald Trump's America First agenda. But look, I admire the people who get into the arena, not the people who stand on the sidelines and point out how the strong man could have done things better, and those timid souls who point to others but don't get into the fight. Rocky, you got into the fight. First thing I have to ask you is, it's very hard to raise money running against an incumbent politician, particularly one from a family where Kathy Castor's mother held office in this district in the state before her. So we got about 2 minutes left. I want to know 2 things. How did you finance your campaign? And more importantly now, how are you financing this ongoing fight?
So I appreciate it, Roger. Thank you very much. My campaign was a grassroots effort. I mean, I didn't become a millionaire being 33 years in the Navy. So I had some money tucked aside, and not necessarily with my wife's permission. Please don't tell her. Oops. That I used about $150,000 of my own money, and then we raised about $50,000 to $60,000. So we had just over $200,000 compared to her million plus, but it was a grassroots effort. We have a very strong Hispanic community in Hillsborough County and Pinellas County, and we reach out to them. And because I stand against socialism, against communism, it rung a bell with them, and they really understood that I'm fighting for them, not just for me, not just for everyone in the community, but I'm fighting for them to ensure that we go to the roots of where socialism and communism are grown and destroyed there. And then your other question was,
how do you fund this ongoing legal fight?
So there is when I got a hold of Peter Tickton, he said that he has there's an organization that has decided that they would fund him for me, and that I would be he calls me his poster child for fraud. And because the case that we have that is in Florida right now, that case will open the door. I'm sorry?
All right. I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Your case will open the door. Thank you for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show, and God bless you with all my best hopes and prayers for your success.